Good day, learners! Our lesson for today is all about the music of the classical period. The classical era, also called the Age of Reason, is the period from 1750 to 1820. The cultural life was dominated by the aristocracy as patrons of musicians and artists generally influenced the arts. Significant changes in musical forms and styles were made. In the middle of the 18th century, Europe began to move toward a new style in architecture, literature, and the arts known as classicism. The term classical denotes conformity with the principles of Greek and Roman literature, which were formal, elegant, simple, freed, and dignified. Let's now proceed to the general characteristics of classical music. Classical music has a lighter and clearer texture. Classical music is mainly homophonic, meaning musical texture based primarily on chords. Classical music is simple and easy to remember. Melodies are tuneful and catchy. Let's now meet the composers of the classical period. First, we have Franz Joseph Haydn, 1732 to 1809. Franz Joseph Haydn is also known as the father of the symphony. When we say symphony, it is a lengthy form of musical composition for orchestra. Life and works of Franz Joseph Haydn. His life is described as a rags to riches. He became a musical director for 30 years. His music reflects his character and personality, mainly calm, balanced, serious, but with touches of humor. He also wrote chamber piano music and choral works. Another composer of the classical period is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791. Mozart is a child prodigy. When we say prodigy, it is a young one with exceptional qualities and abilities. Mozart is also the most amazing genius in musical history. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart as the child prodigy. At age 4, he learned to play harpsichord and violin. Age 6, he wrote his first compositions and started touring for 10 years. At age 10, he made his first symphony. At age 14, his first opera. And at age 17, he was hired by the Archbishop of Salzburg. So these are the reason why Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is called the child prodigy. Mozart's late music. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart experimented in all kinds of music and composed over 700 works. Unfortunately, due to losing fame and poorly managed money and finances, he lived his life in poverty. He died young and was buried in an unknown grave. But Mozart's late works are the most impressive. The following are some of the masterpieces of Mozart: Symphonies 37, 40, 41, and the following operas: 1786, Marriage of Figaro; 1787, Don Giovanni; and 1791, Magic Flute. Another famous composer of the classical period was Ludwig van Beethoven, 1770 to 1827. He is a great pianist and composer. The life and works of Ludwig van Beethoven. He was the composer who bridged the late classical era and the early romantic era. In 1796, he began to go deaf, but this did not become a hindrance for him to do music. In the middle of the 18th century, Europe began to move toward a new style in architecture, literature, and arts known as Classicism. Let's now proceed to the different vocal and instrumental music of the classical period. First, we have sonata. Second, sonata allegro form. Third, concerto. Fourth, symphony. And the last one, classical opera. Sonata is a work for a solo instrument. It came from the word sonare, means to make sound. Sonata has 3 movements. Allegro, it is a fast movement. Andante, slow movement. Minuets, 3/4 time and in fast tempo. An example of a sonata here is by Mozart, entitled Sonata number 16 in C major K545. You can search that on YouTube. The next one is Sonata Allegro form. When we say allegro, means fast. Sonata allegro form is the most important form that developed during the classical era. Same with sonata, it consists of three distinct sections. First, the exposition, meaning it introduces the theme. Second, development. In development, themes are being developed. And the last section is recapitulation, meaning it repeats the theme. An example of a sonata allegro form is again by Mozart. The title is Ein klein Nacht Musik. You can also watch this or listen to this one through YouTube. The third one is called concerto. It is a work designed for an instrumental, soloist, and orchestra. A concerto is intended to emphasize the individuality of the solo instrument. It has also three movements: fast, slow, fast. An example of a concerto is by the work of Beethoven. The title is Emperor Concerto. The fourth one is symphony, derived from the word sinfonia, which means a harmonious sounding together. It is a classical music for the whole opera or orchestra. It has four movements: fast, slow, fast, fast. An example of a symphony by Haydn, the title is Surprise Symphony. And the last one is called classical opera. When we say classical opera, it is a drama set to music where singers and musicians perform in a theatrical setting. During the classical period, there are two distinct types of opera. First one is called opera seria or the serious opera. And the second one is called opera buffa or the comic opera. An example of an opera during the classical period is entitled Idomeneo by Mozart. Music of the classical era is usually associated with the nobility. During that time, most of the members of the nobility would financially support the musicians. Music was played in the courts, which make music of the classical era more familiar to the nobility than the lower classes. His association of the rich and classical music is still being experienced in some of the world. However, with the dawn of radio and television, classical music may now be experienced by the masses.